Good evening. Welcome to the very first FinTech panel between HKUST Business School and FinTech Association of Hong Kong. My name is Veronica Fong, the co-chair of Financial Literacy and Inclusion Committee of FinTech Association. I'm also an alumni of HKUST Business School. Tonight, I'm very happy and excited to host the event on Wednesday night to gather all the industry leaders, academics, students, and alumni. So I want to just know who are our audience of tonight. Can all the students please raise your hands? Students. Oh, okay. Who are from financial institutions? Okay. Anyone from tech companies and engineers, developers? Awesome. Pretty good mix. So, before I start, I just wanted to introduce our honorable speaker tonight. So, let's begin with Professor Casey Chen, former Secretary for Financial Services and Treasury of HKSAR Government, Adjunct Professor and Senior Advisor of the Dean, HKUST Business School. Alex Kong, founder and chairman, TNG FinTech Group, the e-wallet that provides the next generation of financial services to the 1.2 billion of unbanked population in Asia. Then we have Ted Lee, also our HKUST alumnus, the general manager of WeLab Hong Kong, the pioneer in mobile lending platform with risk management technology that make credit decisions in seconds. Last but not least, we have Samson Lee, also our HKUST alumnus, founder and CEO of CoinStreet, very, very active blockchain investor in Greater Bay and Asia. So welcome all. Today's panel is about the new era of smart banking in Hong Kong. So let's get started with this week's news. The open banking PSD2 becomes effective in UK on 13th January, just last Saturday. Just a recap of open banking for those who probably haven't heard news yet. It's PSD2, a revised payment service directive, forces the 9 biggest UK banks to open up their previous data, which could mean big changes in the way that we bank. So how do our panelists think about it? Do you think regulation is going to make a big difference? Is there any insight for us to take away for the virtual banking ordinance that was back in 2000?
In fact, when I came in, I asked Veronica, "What is this directive?" Now, let me. Can I go back a little bit? To talk about banking. I think that's what we are talking about. How do we go from here to the paradise? And if you remember, the traditional banking basically is a physical, business. You go to a premise, right? You actually do all the transactions. And then the banks start to realize they can make more money by selling you different kind of financial services. So they put in insurance, fund management products, and so on. So banks trying to create a supermarket, so that you can walk in to the store and get everything from there. So not only they control your payment, your deposit, but they try to really grab your other financial business. That's what the physical banking is. Mm-hmm. So when we think about how the internet banking, what's the possibility of internet banking? Basically, the physical store doesn't happen anymore. Your physical store is a phone, it's a telephone that you have. Basically, you can have a telephone. You can do everything on it. You can actually have the bank, all the banking, all the payments, all the accounts, sweeping from one to the another, or buying insurance, wealth management products, and so on. So basically, what we're talking about when we talk about internet banking or future banking, a possibility, I only say a possibility, I'm not so sure we ever get there, is that your telephone is a store. Now, but how do we, that's a brave new world. I'm not so sure that's exactly what will happen, because I'm sure that something will happen in the market competition. to really to dictate or to change the shape of that. But essentially, it means that you are free of the potentially you're free from dominance of banks. Banks cannot bundle everything together because you can choose to bank with one and choose to do do all the payment services with another provider, and you can buy insurance, you buy wealth management products from different parties because everything is on your phone. Now, but I'm sure, of course, as that happens, the market forces will try to create some kind of a bundling of services so that you actually, you will not get everything a la carte, you will get some kind of package, you will actually do all that. But that's a competition. Now, I think when we are talking about from today's world, where banking and financial services are still very much dominated or basically dictated by the physical presence institutions. If we decide that the future is good, that everyone should have the ability to bank on the phone, then we need to go from here to there. And there's no way you can do that unless you actually do something about the existing market structure. It's more easy to do it in some other countries that are not so much overbanked. For example, China mainland come as what the picture. You can actually probably start a lot of internet banking because to serve a lot underbanked population, and you can start to build a business, viable business that way. But in many mature markets, UK is one. Hong Kong, of course, comes to the picture. You really have existing financial institutions that are doing very well. In Hong Kong, I doubt very much you have underbanked population. Okay, they may not know how to do the internet. You have to tell them how to help them to do the ATM and get the cash. But we don't have that kind of underbanked population. So in order to really go from this kind of a market structure where the traditional banks, because of the physical presence and bundling of services, already control a large market share, for us to go from here to the other world, then we have to do something about it. And there's no way that the banks will willingly share data. There's no way banks will willingly unbundle the services and try to, because they live on it. So yes, regulation is the only answer. Or regulation to really force competition is the only answer. And I think the problem the regulators or government will face is that what is the stage of this development you want to see, and how much do you want to how much competition you want to introduce to the marketplace. There will be, of course, a lot of concerns. There will be some political considerations. There's and so on. But I for one, I just say that for myself, I would believe that there's no way governments can ignore the internet development or the FinTech development, because the consumers don't want to go to a physical store to do things. And because of the availability of the phone and all these mobile communications and the new technology, you can do everything on the phone. So I think we have to really face the reality and start doing something about it.
Yeah, definitely very great insight on the regulations part. What about on the fintech companies? Do you think open data it's going to help the fintech ecosystem to build and put it to the next generation?
So let me share my view on that one. I always believe in one thing. I always believe competition drives innovation. A lot of people nowadays they always try to complain about Hong Kong lack of innovation, particularly on the financial market, right? If you look at the financial market in Hong Kong, you don't see a lot of innovation in Hong Kong, right? But if you try to look a little bit deeper on this particular segment, there is low incentive for the bank to be innovative, right? Because the thing is, they have already monopolizing the market. If you look at the top 3 banks in Hong Kong, basically they cover like 90% of the banking population. And Hong Kong, basically all of the people, they are the banking segment. I agree with Casey that we don't see a lot of people being underbanked in Hong Kong, right? So basically, they don't have a lot of incentive to be even more innovative. And for a lot of customer itself, right? it's not easy for us to switch to other bank as well, because most of the bank, they provide similar service: credit card, wealth management, insurance. Every bank are more or less the same, right? So basically, they will not try to be innovative because no competition there. But fintech is not their direct competitor as well, right? If you imagine, in terms of the scale, in terms of the resources, in terms of the data, fintech will never be a direct competitor to them. If you try to compare it, it will be like a Formula One versus a Toyota. It's not even Formula One versus a Formula E. It's Toyota, right? But the open banking thing is, it's kind of like, now I give you the engine. I give you a much better engine. So you can compete with the bank in the same ways. You can try to have some of the better infrastructure, so you can have the chance to compete with them. And that drive innovative, right? Because people will start to think about how to win the game, how to be the better one, how to do more and better in order to win the game. So that's why I'm very supportive on this kind of initiative. And I do think it's very exciting as well, because if you heard about the latest news from the HKMA, they are trying to do more on the open API things, right? That is one of the start to help to get the fintech to be more better equipped to enter into the game, to drive everyone to be more innovative. And definitely it will help Hong Kong as well.
Yeah, speaking of innovation, we can't miss the TNG, the next generation of financial services for e-wallet for the unbanked. So, Alex. Yeah.
May I have a show of hand that when was the last time, how many of you been to or visit the bank, one of the branches in the last 30 days? Can I have a show of hand? Interesting. Interesting. Are you sure? Almost half. Interesting. 1/3. Okay. Now, maybe I... Interesting. I can't remember when was the last time I visited my bank. I'm not sure whether you... Yeah, there is no reason. TNG is actually a bank. We position and provide all sort of financial services. We turn 183,000 outlets into our branchless to provide cash in, cash out, such as the 7-Eleven money changer, and all the 7-Eleven in Hong Kong to provide 24-hour service to deposit money and also to withdraw money. Not only in Hong Kong, but 183,000 locations worldwide. I recently went back to answer the questions about PSD2. I monitor this area of development very closely. In fact, we tried very hard working or talking to some of the major banks in Hong Kong to talk about the open API. Way many years before the regulators talk about open API. It's a fruitless, it's a hopeless initiative. I came back from London talking to the regulators there, and they have to pass the new regulations to force 9 of the biggest banks in London, in UK, to open out their API, because no one willing to open out API. And looking into Hong Kong situation right now, recently they've been a hot topic talking about open API, and it's a very liberal approach. They do not force the bank. Basically, it's open discussion, and they came out with a very indicative timeline that it will take them 12 months to open out the API for product information. All right, and also to apply, submit a few fields to apply for their product services like credit cards, such as to fill in your name, your ID number, and basically just a few fields. It will take another 12 months, things like that. I mean, those people in the IT as a developer, it probably will take you half an hour to do it rather than 12 months. Basically, the way I look at it is history repeats itself. If the regulator doesn't force the big banks to comply and open up API, no one will. If I'm the bank, I would not too. Yeah, I mean, it's a protection. Professor Chan and Ted also mentioned that. I guess we all have the conclusion that if the regulator doesn't force them, nothing will happen. nothing meaningful will ever happen. Our society, Hong Kong as a financial center of the world, would not progress. We will be the same boring financial services for the last 50 years with no innovations. That's it. That is the conclusion. I guess to move things forward, taking the opportunities, we hope Hong Kong will be moving to the right directions. No more Mr. Nice Guy. If we want to be competitive in the world, we need to be forcing some of the players to open out their precious data. So that it's not for themselves, but it's for the entire society, for the entire economy as a whole, because without competitions, there is no innovation. Without innovation, there is no progress. So we just had to move things forward.
Yeah, with its open API, if we compare Hong Kong and UK, obviously the fintech market in UK has developed ahead before Hong Kong. And imagine in Hong Kong we now have this open API. Do you think, how are you going to think this is going to benefit the fintech companies as such?
Wow, a lot of things. When you launch TNG Wallet, every morning you will see all your financial wealth, your insurance, your policy, your portfolio, your bank account balance from different sources. You open it up, you don't have to log into every single bank and go through the two-factor authentication to find out your account balances and check your transaction history. And guys, you don't, it's just checking transaction history. You are not talking about making transactions, right? So it will save us so much time, and every morning we can feel good about ourselves, that how much money we're worth today. Yeah, and with that, with the portfolio management, if you invest in cryptocurrency, invest in stock market in US, so the morning, the first thing you check is how much am I worth today, at this moment, right? It saves us time, and we can plan our financial accordingly, whether we want to move money around accordingly as well. So with the open information, we can force innovation to drive down to drive out the competitions. Therefore, all the players need to be competitive. We have to look for ways to be more productive and run the business in a more efficient manner and pass on the cost savings to the consumers. Like for instance, about money transfer. Why are we still not real time when we want to transfer money from one bank account to another bank account in Hong Kong? Why are we still paying $25 to $50 for a local money transfer? I mean, does it make sense? If you look at many developing countries, they are real time and little or no cost. And why are we taking so long? And if you talk about transfer money from one country, from Hong Kong to another country, why are we taking 2 to 5 working days? And why are we paying so much? Because of all this protection. For the last 50 years, not much of progress and too much protection. And with competitions, we can move things forward. Like today, we are talking about moving money from Hong Kong, remit to 14 countries, real time. And you can know the rates. What you see is what you get. Why are you going to the bank and ask them to send the money to another country? They can't tell you what is the exchange rate. And yet they charge you so much. I don't understand. It's something good 50 years ago, but it's no longer acceptable today. If all other countries are already progressing, why are we still sitting duck and do nothing about it? This is a year of transformation. And open API is just one of the many steps that we need to open up. And use that, I take another step is Hong Kong, we issued 16 licenses for the SVF, yeah, e-wallet licenses. And none of the e-wallet operator willing to open up to let our money, our users' money, to transfer from one wallet to another wallet. Imagine if you have a bank account and you can't transfer your money from one bank account to another bank account. Does it make sense? Why are we in Hong Kong with 16 licensees, they refuse to open out to cooperate together? I don't see there's any future, no matter how many licenses you issue, because they're simply not willing to work with each other. Fortunately, our regulators came up with an initiative called Faster Payment. And hopefully by September this year, all the money transferred in and out of banks and the e-wallet, among the e-wallets and banks, will be real time. That is a very powerful and strategic move, because without the regulators step in and force it, nobody willing to do it. Because for the last 6 years, we tried to work with banks. We complete the EBPP integration with 19 banks. They just simply refuse to list our company name onto the system. So how are we going to accept money transfer to top up into e-wallet? It's all about protection, but it's not good for competitions and the progress of the society. It's just one of the examples.
Yeah, definitely hear the wish list from the startup. So what about Sam on the investor side? How do you see this regulation, open API, it's going to benefit the fintech startup to enter the market?
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Sam. First of all, thank you for having me. I'm more from the blockchain side of the ecosystem. So I guess when talk about banking, my view is there's always top down and bottoms up. Top down is the regulator, right? You wait for them, make regulation, but the market wouldn't wait for them. What happened in blockchain is it create a market force from the bottom up, from the people, right? Now people are sending money real time, right? Going back to the question earlier, right? So now they're moving money on an alternate network that's out of the banking networks. So it creates a very big force for the bank, the traditional banking system to react. I think it's great to see this open banking act, and hopefully it will spread to other countries. So what I think is we should look into the way I feel if, well, many of you are very young, but I get the experience when, if you remember the telecommunication network when they open up. Anybody remember like Hong Kong Telecom, Cable and Wireless? When they all have, you know, the proprietary network, and it costs you $20 per minute to call US, right? When it opened up in around 1996, 97, later on, it brings the internet. Internet will not happen without telecommunication open up. So I think with this open banking, we're going to see a lot of application that we can never think of today, right? But in terms of the direction, obviously it will cause impact to the bank, because before they are all proprietary monopoly. They have all the data and they can make planning. But now the data is available to everybody, and even single bank, they can get data from other banks, right? So it's a free market. I think it will give a lot of opportunity to not just bank, but a lot of FinTech companies, right, who can come in with all this data together with the AI, and they can have a very intelligent offering that previously the bank cannot offer. Another impact we should see is, okay, it's all good with the regulation and what's happening, but in technology, it's all about implementation, right? We all know internet is great. We all know mobile phone is great. If you remember, like 3G have a lot of promises, and 3G launched in year 2000, when we still have this mobile giant called Nokia, right? Nokia is a big promoter of 3G. They're not here anymore. So the implementation of technology is very crucial. So now with open banking, how do we implement all this decentralization, right? So the data is going to be from one bank to a lot of different parties, right? How do you implement all this banking data with the AI? And with all this data, what we can enable is the machine learning, right? Because machine learning will not happen without the data to train the machine and the AI, right? So this implementation, all this enabling technology is very important to realize the vision and the benefit of the open banking.
Yes, we all see like opening data be open. It's always good, but let's talk about the risk side. What are your current like risk risk-based approach in order to manage the market risk. We have a lot of processes on KYC, on a lot of MiFID check, MiFID 2 that we require to do, a lot of OTC reportings. In all banking services, we're talking about communicating our data and from the financial institutions to the regulators. So we talk about market risk. So how do you think your current technology or your insight on the technology solution for fintech can actually manage the risk for the industry?
Can I just want to respond a little bit to the earlier discussion, because I think the question that we're asking is that how much deregulation essentially should happen so that we can foster fintech development. And of course, that's also part of the risk management too, because how do you, when you're changing this huge market structure, you're going to have a lot of dislocation. And how do you manage this? Now, I just want to, I think I do repeat, I think regulation is important, and it is up to government policy often to try to really create a competitive environment. It's not the government regulation promoting lack of competition, but somehow when the market structure has developed certain time under the current regulation, then in order to foster a new development, you got to really change the regulation. Now, I think the case in point here, besides the open banking, which we talk about, and I think when Alex talked about the faster payment system, I think it's a very good example. And I do want to, support the regulators. I'm a former, one of them. But I think when you think about the faster payment system, the HKMA, according to the schedule, this year in September, they will introduce a faster payment system. So you can actually transfer money from account to an account, from individual to merchant, and vice versa. So you think real time. So when you think about this is really revolutionary. And HKMA is working with all the merchants to come up with some kind of according to what I read, is some kind of a QR code that will actually simplify the whole process. Now, imagine, this is a really somehow behind all this is a determination and a policy to say we got to open our payment system so that what Alex talked about, the current problem, hopefully can be mitigated. So I think regulation does mean something, or deregulation does mean something, because without that kind of faster payment system, we will be still stuck in the old world. And here, although we have no press here, right?
No.
No press here.
No press here.
And I have.
No.
They all have social media.
Yeah, social media. I have to say that recently I gave an interview to one paper, and I was describing how difficult it is to go from Hong Kong model to a China model, because in Hong Kong everyone is happy with their credit card and so on, and auto press and so on. And I said you need to have that's why a market solution will not change it, because everyone's happy. The only deficiency in Hong Kong system is that you do not have a faster payment system, so people can actually make payment from one account to another account, or that some merchants will never accept electronic money, like the taxi drivers. Of course, I said all that, and Apple Daily, sorry, I shouldn't say Apple Daily, but the newspaper said that he is for using Olympus card. I'm not for using Olympus card. I'm describing how difficult it is to really let the market, a free market, go to a solution, because the acceptance is acceptance level is very important. Customers are happy with what they're doing. You're not going to change it. And the regulation, sometimes we have to introduce a new sort of dynamic to change the market. So that was really, I'm just trying to be.
Yeah, definitely. Let's address the point. On the risk side, how do we manage it? Like with an open source kind of structure.
Asking something about MiFID. I'll let the gentleman.
No, it's just technology. How can we address risk, market risk? Yeah.
No, actually, I want to respond to what Casey just mentioned first. I think the whole thing is, if you look at Hong Kong right now, right, a lot of people, they will feel like the adoption of the technology is actually much slower than our labor, right, which is Shenzhen or in China, right. And the reason behind is, it's not about whether we are having good technology product or not. The reason behind it's difficult for people to understand about the benefit of the technology, right? They are happy with what they are having right now, but just because they didn't know there is something else in the world, right? So the education that part is actually play a very important role. And that education that part is not, it cannot be done by just fintech company or the technology firm. It has to be hand in hand cooperating with the government as well. So it's good that Casey mentioned about that. And I do feel like we need to, or all of the people, including the tech firm, including the fintech, including the bank, including the government, we need to work really, really hard in order to educate the market, right? And educate the market first, and then build the trust for the second, right? And that will make a difference.
Face it, in Hong Kong, we are very we have a very highly educated society. Our finding, the conclusion is the more educated you are, the less likelihood you will adopt or accept e-wallet, right? So most of our clients are the unbanked. So we shifted our focus to the unbanked rather than the well-banked individuals in this room. To switch you from your existing service provider to our platform, the switching cost is simply too high. Forget it. So we are not going to target anyone in this room, so we are not here. I'm not here to hard sell you to switch to our service. But go back and ask your mate, your domestic helper, whether they are using our service. More than 70% of them are currently on board with us, and ask them their experience. Very interesting finding. So that is the real situations, a reality in Hong Kong, number one. And number two, you talk about the risk, right? There is no protection today. If you are online, you are exposed to risk. Yeah, your phone can be hijacked over the air. Your network in the company, in your computer at home can be hijacked very easily. It's how you protect unless you switch off everything. You're not online. Otherwise, you are always subject to risk. But Hong Kong has something good. The regulators are very strict. They constantly monitor their licensees, like the bank and company like us, to be at the top notch of the security. We have to conduct regular security tests, penetration tests, to make sure we are always at the highest level and to protect the interests for the cyber security and so on and so forth. There's one important point I really want to make. It just slipped my mind. Maybe I said I always switch off my mind after 6 p.m. Anyway, talk about risk. I will think about it later, but it's an important point I wanted to make.
Yeah, I think as a customer, we're all concerned about the data and that's the certain fear over there, right? Yeah.
It's actually fear of unknown. Today, do you know that if you go and withdraw cash, 10-20% of the people go and withdraw cash from the banks, they will be out of business? Are you aware that if you withdraw money, 100% of the cash withdrawal from e-wallet operator like us, we can meet it at no problem? That is the kind of protection the regulators implement to make us to protect the interests of the consumers, to make sure your money is well protected. But one thing is to encourage the adoption of e-wallet or fintech. I see that there's a lack of support still. For instance, the government departments need to accept e-wallet like us for payment. So I believe the team there from James Lau's team is working very hard to implement new initiatives to get the government departments together to start accepting us. Because if you don't accept, how do you expect the businesses in the market to accept us? Because the acceptance level is very low. People don't trust. And the other thing that I take the opportunity, since some of the regulators are here, is you should think about to encourage the people, not just the business, but the individuals in this room, to embrace fintech. Every now and then I see the advertisements came out from regulators. They always ask people to be 小心. Be wary of using your personal data and the money that you store in the e-wallet instead of asking people to embrace or be fengsam. I think that is something that needs to change. If you look at those advanced countries, the regulators or the government, they say this is our national policy. We all need to embrace. If not, we won't be here tomorrow, right? But over here, they are very, very, I don't know how to use it, but it's not a very good phrase anyway. It is, you got to encourage people to fengsam, to accept this. Otherwise, we will never, we can keep saying, we are safe, we are secure, we are good. Nobody believes us. It is the third party who govern us or whoever come out and said, this is a good company, your interest, your money is well protected, and security, everything is top notch, and Hong Kong is, people here are very well protected. Especially Hong Kong people are very concerned about personal data. Hong Kong has a very strict data privacy law. But why are the people still don't believe in the Hong Kong company? But every single moment they upload their video, their photos, and surrender their IP rights to people like Google and Facebook with no problem. I don't understand. But if we commit anything wrong, we were sent to jail in a matter of days. So we are very well protected here. I think it's about giving chance to the local people. It's not about US or foreign company always the best. We have to uphold the highest standard here, and we should be very proud. Because when we venture outside of Hong Kong, every country we go, they say, wow, you're from Hong Kong. Wow. Because they know how strict is Hong Kong, right? So we see Hong Kong is a Shaolin temple. We train ourselves very well before we can survive and we can grow out of Hong Kong. People respect company who base out of Hong Kong, yeah? But do we respect the companies who are based here in Hong Kong? Do we give a chance to a company who start out here? You know, that is something that we are here. We keep talking about FinTech. Hong Kong is a FinTech hub, and we should progress. But have you used any e-wallet? Ask yourself. If not, why are you here tonight? Is it something that interesting to find out? Or you're going to embrace? I don't know. What are you looking for? I think whatever e-wallet today is just a stepping stone to something bigger. Hong Kong MA announced that they are looking at issuing the virtual bank license. I think that is another big steps forward. That the banking today, people don't go to the bank branches anymore. Why are they paying high rental costs and hire so many people? If they can save the money and pass on the savings to the consumer, it is another big step forward. So I'm based in Hong Kong. I'm very opportunistic about Hong Kong. I feel the challenges, I feel the pain of running a business here in Hong Kong. But it's a great place. We should be very, very blessed, feel blessed and very proud of being in Hong Kong, because I go to so many countries. We set out footprint across 14 countries. Amazing. Imagine the kind of hard life, and to travel from one place to another place, 100 meters, I had to stuck there for 1.5 hours. Hong Kong, hardly any traffic jam. I mean, it's very comfortable. We are very blessed, and we should appreciate all what we have and start embracing and make Hong Kong great again. The other one is we feel very big challenges is the public transportation. We came out with, everyone is saying China is great. China has the highest standard when it comes to FinTech. They have 2 biggest wallets in China. Everyone is using that, almost 100% penetration. But you, as a tourist, as a Hong Kong people, when you travel to China, can you pay for your taxi fare? Can you pay for your lunch? No, right? So the success of their FinTech solution has created another big problem to non-Chinese people who don't have a local bank account. Imagine that. So we are here to solve many, many problems. The country, the world is moving forward by progressing. At the same time, we also create additional problem. Then we can come up with another solution to address the new problem that have created. The world is ever changing, and just feel very excited about all this.
Yeah, maybe let's switch the topic a little bit on.
I want to.
Okay.
Because I feel so sorry for
Because
Veronica
we
because she's
spend
asking
a lot of time on
she's asking a
regulation. I have
different
a question
topic.
on
Okay.
customer experience next.
I mean,
Okay.
I just want
Yeah.
to try to address what you're saying. Okay, I think your question is really about how do we use technology to mitigate or to cut down the regulation costs, the compliance costs. And I think I want to speak on that one because I feel very passionate about that. I think we have, over the years, we have added a lot of costs, to the banks and any kind of financial institutions. After the global financial crisis, we actually add on more and more. I think it's really unbearable, and I don't have the answer. I hope that FinTech can provide the answer. So the question is, can we use FinTech, or we call it RegTech, right, to really try to simplify the whole process of compiling regulation? Now, theoretically, that should be doable because I do not know whether such company exists right now tackling that, but I do know that certain companies are doing some part of it, like the trying to really keep track with all the documents, the corporate action, and so on. So technology can help us, using different kind of database system, trying to really AI and so on, can really help us simplify the whole regulatory compliance cost. I do feel that the biggest part of FinTech is that.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
really-
If you look at my bank budgets every year,
Yeah.
most of the operations headcounts, we're increasing the KYC, regulatory reporting. Every team of those teams have a bigger team, and then the other team is shrinking, actually.
But in order for that to happen, we definitely need the industry and the regulators to really work together. Because after all, the regulators, we impose all the regulatory, guidance and requirements. So you really have to have a very proactive approach from the regulators. Of course, we cannot expect them to do all technology. We will have to rely on technology companies or startups and so on to come up with solutions, and for industry to really take it to the regulators and try to really, make it happen. But I think I'm very keen about it. I mean, if blockchain, right, you can talk about that. Blockchain is supposed to help us solve all these problems. So.
I actually
I-
have something to add to it.
So if we really think about all these compliance things, compliance burdens, we should have a much better database system to handle it. And I think that will be a really a big FinTech gain, value gain.
Thank you. I actually have something to add to that. Back to the risk, right? So risk also give opportunity, right? Risk and opportunity. So I think the open banking really give a lot of opportunity, especially for blockchain. Right? You see, I'm a big embracer for blockchain. And by the way, ConStreet is a full-service blockchain consultant company. So if you want to talk about it, we can talk about it at the break. So open banking, if you think about banks, apart from all the money handling, the deposit, and the financial service, one very important function is identity. Right? You think about when you swipe your credit card, the reason it goes through the acquiring bank and the merchant back to Visa and back to your issuing bank is to find the bank that issued the card to you so they can authenticate it, who you are, how much you have in the account and things like that. And nowadays when we send money through the banking, internet banking and all that, you don't really send money. You just send a notification. The money didn't move, it's in the bank. But who do you trust? You don't trust me, you don't trust your friend, you trust the bank. You receive notification from the bank, tell you, okay, your money's there. So it's about identity. But when we have the open banking, how do you handle different bank, interbanking identity from a customer from a different bank? Will the bank trust each other? Is that system in place, or actually they need to have a third-party system to be trusted? And in my view, that will be blockchain, right? One of the reasons blockchain exists is to have a trusted, open blockchain in the internet, and people just trust the blockchain. And it has been proven, although it's still controversial as of today about the cryptocurrency and things like that, but apart from the investment and the speculation. If you look at the technology by itself, it is proven. When Bitcoin launched in 2009 until today, right? Of course, you might see news that some people Bitcoin got stolen in the wallet, but the technology itself have not been hacked. There's no counterfeit Bitcoin ever been created, right? Bitcoin have been stolen, but it have never been created. So the technology itself of blockchain is safe and secure. So that create opportunity for blockchain identity solution, right? And secondly, just Casey just mentioned about the database. Blockchain allow us to create decentralized database, right? Even those the biggest company in this world, you might still hear sometimes from time to time, like Apple, the iTunes got hacked, right? People photos and video got leaked out because of the hacking. It is because the architecture of single centralized system, right? So the whole blockchain, the idea is take that system, break it down into 20,000 computers. So hacker have to hack 20,000 computers at the same time. So it actually increased the security level a lot. So this goes back to the first question is about implementation. When we have this opportunity and create a risk, so it create opportunity for new technology, and hopefully we'll have some new solution to enable and make this new service happen.
Yeah, great. Like blockchain application, definitely. It's going to be a secured platform. So on this front, how would the technology create values for the customer experience? What are the innovation that it brings in order to make our client happier, which is always the most important thing for any kind of business?
So let's talk about one thing, right? So when we talk about fintech, when we say that we want to promote fintech, it's not just about trying to put your business or put your financial service online. It's not just about that, right? It's not just about having an application form on the internet, that's all, right? It's not like that. It's talking about trying to identify the pain point of your customer and try to provide them a solution. It can be technology solution or it can be something else. But technology can always do an even better job because with the latest development of the technology, you will always find something you feel like is impossible in the past, but become possible right now, right? So from a customer perspective, you just need to understand your customer really, really clear. And then you need to figure out, okay, that is the pain point, that is the things they feel bad. Particularly if I just take our business as one of the examples, which is about lending, right? I'm not sure how many of you have experience in lending, but I guess a lot of you guys have experience in applying a credit card, right? You need to fill the form, you need to wait for the result, you need to hand in a lot of documentation, right? But a lot of things you basically don't need to do in that way with the use of the technology, right? Like the KYC things, like the identity verification, like even if you have the open API, you don't need to hand in any kind of documentation. It's just so painful, right? Right now, a lot of you guys probably you receive the e-statement instead of the physical letter, right? How can I give you the letter as a proof, right? It's very old-fashioned, right? But the thing is, you just need to understand the whole things from end to end from a customer's journey to make sure from every single part of the journey, you know that is actually the pain point, that's the difficult part, that's the part that customer doesn't really enjoy. Sometimes customer may not know what they don't really enjoy. Sometimes they don't know what they don't know, right? The thing is, they don't know there can be even better experience in the world that can change their behavior, that can change their life as well. So I feel like if talking about the high level, we just need to make sure we find a good product market fit, to make sure we have a solution using the technology to make that happen. And at the end of the day, all of the people will switch to that. It's just a matter of time, and it's a matter of education as well, just like what we mentioned, right?
I want to tell a story. These days I do ride taxis more than before, and I do some informal survey, and asking the taxi drivers, why do you not accept either credit card or electronic wallet? And oftentimes people say because they want some small change at tips, right? But that's not. I mean, according to my informal survey, that's not the real reason. I mean, most people don't give tips anyway, so they don't really expect to see a lot of tips, with a spare change. There are all kinds of worry. Some worry that that their income got audited. The government go after them on for tax. And worse than that, now there's no press here, I just and some say, look, I am receiving all kinds of subsidies from government. I don't want my income to be reported over some threshold, over which I cannot receive those social payments. So they have my point is that they have a lot of concern of keeping their earnings secret. Now, that's a real, surprise to me. This is, and that really comes to another question. And I'm not saying that, that's a majority of people's concern, but when we talk about electronic payments, e-banking, and so on, there is a privacy issue, because how you spend your money, where you spend money becomes a public record. Oh, not public record, because a record. Someone can, it's an audit trial on the record. So to some extent, I don't understand. I really don't understand this behavioral thing. I wish I know more. And how do people really prize their privacy that when they spend their money, they don't want people to know where they spend their money, or they receive income, they don't want people to know how they receive income. Now, this is just a very casual observation. Now, okay, so can technology help? You're going to say Bitcoin, okay? Technology so that actually we can have transactions done electronically. Somehow the privacy is preserved. May I? There you go.
Yeah, I would say yes. Yeah. So I'll go back to blockchain again, right? So I think this is perfect case for us to, if any entrepreneur here, to think about a taxi token, right? That's based in blockchain, is anonymous. You pay and it's on your wallet, right? So it's electronic cash, right? So going back to the user friendliness, right?
Yep.
So my view is it's very simple, right? If you explain it in a complicated way, it's not user friendly. So the way I see it is in Cantonese is pen nen zen fai, right? And in English, there's no direct translation. I try my best. It's cheaper, it's user friendly, it's accurate, and faster. That create a user experience.
Same thing here. We try to use technology to solve the pain point. And if you talk about fintech, it's all about dealing with money. And why is it dealing with money so difficult? Why moving money is so difficult? So we should make money, transfer of money, not just locally but internationally, frictionless. Transfer money at the speed of thought. So this is exactly what we are making it happen, and we solve the people who don't have to queue out 3 to 5 hours every Sunday just to send the money to their husband who cannot be trusted. Yeah, because if they send all the salary in 1 month, one go, they will spend it all. So they had to queue out. They only have 1 day holiday and had to queue out 3 to 5 hours. That is very painful. And each time, fill out the same stupid form. That is very painful. And to the low-income earner, every day is emergency. They cannot wait for 2 to 5 days for the money to arrive. It got to be real time. So taking it, I use that as an example, is we are in the business of moving money, real time, very cheaply, and very securely. Yeah. So that is the immediate pain point. And while doing so, when we say security is very concerned, because we had to meet the AML, anti-money laundering, counter-terrorist financing, all the concern from the regulators. We need to be fully compliant. And to make sure both the sender and the beneficiaries are not a criminal, are not doing money laundering, and so on and so forth. And this is the area where the Bitcoin or cryptocurrency couldn't match, right? They try to hide money. They try to send money secretly and without any identity. The money never, there's no fake money, that's for sure. But what activities are they funding? So my conspiracy theory is the biggest buyer of cryptocurrency should be the government. Some of the governments. Some of the governments who need to fund the international, maybe I watched too many movies, but I'm sure they used to send printed currency, hard currency in the container and ship it using helicopter. Nowadays, just a press of a button using Bitcoin. That is very true. Yeah. So anyway, it's a balance. To the mass public, we need to authenticate and make sure it's not used to fund illegal activities. That's why a lot of people said, why is the bank so slow? Because the bank had to meet all these compliances. And on the other extreme, people said, use Bitcoin, no checking, very fast, very cheap. Yeah, it's true. But is it safe? Is it used to fund terrorist activities, to create a bomb and create all kinds of endangered activities? We need to have a police. And this is where the regulator comes in, and this is where we come in to make things in a proper manner. We want to do it real time, we want to do it fast, we want to do it cheap, but at the same time, meet all the necessary compliances. This is where the technology can help.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of great insight on technology. So because we have students and a lot of banking experts in the room, so last piece of question is about talent management. So I have a question to all of you here. Like, what types of talent are you looking for in particular on FinTech? Who you hire, and how could a piece of advice to any of our audience here tonight who would like to develop their career in FinTech? What would you say to them in 2-3 sentences?
Okay. Okay. Forget about most things you learn. Yeah, you have to unlearn whatever you have learned, because we are talking about next generation. You don't want to bring all the baggages to box yourself in. You have to always think out of the box. And we don't see many people are capable to think out of the box to solve the problem, right? So learn to unlearn, and also learn to relearn. That's all I can share with you in 2 sentences.
Okay, first thing is we're hiring. So if any one of you are interested, you can talk to me after that, right? I do feel like one of the very important thing is the right mindset is very important, right? Technology is something at the very beginning you may not be able to figure out the correlation between the technology and your business. How to apply the technology into your business as a use case is actually one of the very important things. First, I guess a lot of people may not feel like blockchain can help on the ledger booking. A lot of people may feel like AI is more like trying to do things like a chatbot, things like that. But there are a lot of usage on beyond that, right? So the right mindset is you just need to make sure, first, you need to be tech savvy. Second, you need to understand all of the pain points. Third, you need to make sure these two can be connected. And if you have that, then probably you will be a perfect fit for FinTech.
On the regulation side, we need a lot of talent and understanding on FinTech. So advice on...
Not so much regulation. I just feel that when I observe the development of FinTech, of course, we have a lot of bankers, a lot of financial people are on it, and they're doing a wonderful job. They're figuring out where the market, how to enter the market. But I really feel that FinTech development show us how technology is driving the innovation. And you got people who are just basically, very creative, very imaginative people who know technology and who know nothing about banking, or insurance, or anything about financial services, and trying to come up with different kind of solutions. So that's really showing us how technology can actually challenge the old financial model. So I say I would like people like that. I like people who are really good, really looking at banking differently, looking at banking, looking at insurance differently, and trying to see can we have different solutions. At the end of the day, of course, you need to have these people work with the finance and legal people to deal with regulation. But the impetus, that kind of innovation, we have seen it do come from people who are outside of the traditional banking.
Okay, talents. Talent is the number one success factors, I was saying, in the fintech area. So let me do a quick survey here, okay? Who is from the finance industry here? May I see the hands? Okay, great. Who is from the technology industry here?
Not bad.
Okay, not bad. Who is from the fintech industry? Right, the last. Right. So what I'm trying to say is, I totally agree with Alex. This is a new area, right? You really have to be open-minded, and there's a lot of opportunity because it's combining different industry together, right? So we got a lot of finance expert and professional in Hong Kong and a lot of technology, but how do you combine the two? Right? You really have to learn about the other side. If you're from finance, learn about technology. Not saying you're going to become an engineer, but just enough for you to be able to think and innovate. Right? The reason why you probably hear from everywhere why people say talent is so important, because we are navigating the new area. Right? When you're working for a company, in a fintech company, very often even the boss sometimes might not be able to tell you what they're doing. Is the teamwork. It's really a lot rely on the team to think and actually advise the company where to go. So it is very important to really keep open mind, I think.
Yeah, thank you for all the speakers for the great advice. And let's give a round of applause to all the panelists tonight. So we overrun a little bit, but I'd like to open the floor for any Q&A. So please raise your hand and we'll pass the mic over. Any question?
Hi. So this is more of a personal question for Alex. My helper has been raving about TNG wallet, and so she loves it, right? She sends some, the salary she gets to her family that way. Now the pain point is my pain point. I want to pay her through TNG wallet, but I have an HSBC account. I don't want to deposit, go get money out of the machine and then go to, 7-Eleven and pay her. So when can I just transfer money to the wallet? I have your app, but I can't do much with it right now.
You see the problem is? HSBC is the problem. That is your pain point. And solution, faster payment. Because everyone is forced to make available, open up the channel to make the money to flow in and out seamlessly. Cost effect, very, very low cost and real time. And the government is doing it because the bank refused to do it. Seriously, because we are now licensed, so I can talk about this now. The bank is not very cooperative for obvious reason, and that is going to change in September.
September, awesome. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, actually, my question is that for those main two players in China, actually, I don't think they just success by themselves having e-wallets. I think like Alibaba, because they have the Tmall, so that's why people use Alipay. And for WeChat Pay, because people use WeChat, so they use WeChat Pay. Do you think that's the reason why e-wallet themselves, companies that only do e-wallet, is not able to gain enough user just by calling people to use it to pay without purposes?
Yeah, many people mistaken. E-wallet is not about payment, right? It's about financial services. And in Hong Kong, in Cantonese, I think I can describe this better. 香港冇電子支付困難症. All right? Because we have Octopus card, we have credit card, we can use it anywhere. And why, if you have a choice to use mobile payment versus your card, will you use Alipay or the China, the two pays, or you use your credit card? Obviously, you will choose to use credit card because you can earn loyalty point. And you have credit. You don't have to pay the money right away. But in China, they have to use it because they don't have credit cards. They don't earn loyalty point. They have nothing to lose. And it's a whole different culture. It's a prepaid culture. So when I look at it and read newspaper every day, I feel angry. Because the media is always talking about payment, payment, payment. Are we so behind or lack of payment that we must use telephone-based for payment? No. Today, TNG offers 32 financial services. Payment is one of it. And you think payment can make money? No way. Are they making money in China? No. Everybody, if even everybody in China or everybody in Hong Kong using TNG wallet for payment every day, for your lunch, breakfast, dinner, we're not going to make money. Because the margin is so slim and the compliance cost is so high. You think we don't have compliance costs? We have the same level of compliance costs as a traditional bank, right? And in bank, you do big payments. But in e-wallet, we talk about paying for newspaper, paying for lunch, for micropayment, but at the same level of compliance cost. So don't kid ourselves. Payment doesn't make money. It's a part of the services that we need to offer, but there are so much more that we can do to provide very efficient financial services through FinTech, through e-wallet platform today, not just payment.
But I think her point is really about how this development in China is so unique, and I think that's I think that's really a point to recognize, which is very much consistent with what you say. Hong Kong has no lack of payment solutions or alternatives, where China did have lack of payment alternatives. So and it gives a room for these two companies to move into, and also from in terms of industry development, or strategy, why these two companies instead of other 10 or 20 companies? Because these two companies happen to have basically some kind of killer application, either Tmall or the WeChat, so they can actually quickly enter the market, dominate the market or co-share the market, and I think that's really a very a very strategic and also a very unique, almost unique to China. Only in China. So that's why when Hong Kong commentators or the people try to say, should Hong Kong go to the China solution? I'm not so sure that would be the right solution, because Hong Kong people have other kind of alternatives of paying. So and also you're right. Ali and Tencent do not make money on the payment; they make money on other things. So you cannot just make money on payment. So that's really a very different kind of a market dynamics that we face between Hong Kong and China, and not everything in China can be done in Hong Kong by sheer market force.
Maybe we take the last two questions. So maybe this gentleman, yeah.
Thanks again to the panel for the informative session, and with you guys around there and on the topic of regulation, I work at a US bank, so one of the most regulated entities that can be around. But if you just take an observation of China and look at the timeline that China's had the last 2 decades, and you see the phenomenal shift in the pain or the painless, when it was so challenging for a Chinese business merchant to do banking and go to their Chengdu branch and make a payment. And now you look at the phenomenal success of Ali and WeChat, and you look at it from a regulatory standpoint. Are there lessons learned when you see the Chinese regulators and the Chinese government looking at the big Chinese banks, which were all made up of leadership that had connections with the political party, and there's look, this is a hard challenge to enforce onto these banks and these CEOs. But instead, they consciously perhaps took a step to say, well, let's let this e-commerce company here develop a payment platform and literally take the majority market share. I mean, is there lessons learned that Hong Kong can take from China to say, hey, how can we approach this a bit differently, seeing the amazing leap forward that China's taken?
Two different countries, two very different system and culture. In China, they're very liberal. They let you run, let you do it first, and then they start tighten you. Yeah, for the last 14 years, there is almost no KYC. Only starting last year, they need KYC. And if they were to do 600 million people on KYC process, it's going to take them 100 years, right? So in Hong Kong, we need to do KYC. Or anywhere, any country outside of China need to conduct KYC process. And you said the most highly regulated is US bank, yes, because of the KYC and compliance costs. That's why it's only unique in China. They will liberalize and then they tightened once you gain enough traction. Hong Kong adopt just like any other countries in the world is they will tie your hands and feet together and then ask you to run. And that's why I said Hong Kong is a Shaolin temple. Because Hong Kong is very well established with a protection for the consumer interest and with a legal framework and so on and so forth. And to ensure everything is proper. And the company, the financial institution like us would not get bust. And we've been constantly under due diligence. Sorry if the regulator's here. We're constantly under due diligence to make sure we are very well run. That makes all the difference. So the success, like Professor Chen said, the success in China is very unique. We're yet to see whether they can duplicate their success in China to many other countries. We have yet to see. The only success they have is to use the huge amount of cash flow to acquire local companies or invest in local companies. That's all we see at this moment. So I guess the world is very fair. Your model there may not, the success there, it may not be the asset, it could be liability when you venture out. Like the recent deal in US, Ants Financial tried to acquire MoneyGram. Finally, the deal failed to went through because it's simply, there are many other reasons, and basically it's the fit and proper test, because maybe I shouldn't say so much. It's very different. The US regulator look at the deal, look at the ultimate shareholders behind, is it fit and proper? Is it a cowboy or is it a banker? Yeah. In China, the FinTech companies tend to run like a cowboy, because to succeed, to be successful, you need to run it like a cowboy. In Hong Kong, we can't afford to run it like a cowboy. We need to be very well behaved, and yet a little bit of cowboy, but not too much. So we have to be working hand in hand with the regulators to make sure everything is in sync. That's all I can say.
Just want to
Very quick one, yeah.
Very quick one. Okay. So going back to your question, if you think about deploying payment system through the pirate organization or semi-pirate, in Hong Kong actually happened. If you think about Octopus, right? It started as transport, now it become payment system, right? It did happen. So what I'm trying to say, my point is, I actually deployed the world first mobile wallet with PCCW in 2002 with the 3G. Payment and wallet, paying someone never give you utility, right? It's the good and service that you get give you the utilities, and paying is just something you have to do because you pay. So you always have to find the killer application that drives the payment, right? So in Alipay, of course, start with Taobao e-commerce, and WeChat is the red packet. That's how they start, when they're sending money P2P. So it's always driving a killer application. And for example, TNG said about wiring money to the Filipino. So this is something always start. Where is the utility? Then can drive the payment. And obviously, like if you start with something with a big base, that will be very successful. So going back, not intentionally to blockchain, but I just want to make a good example, right? Some of you might hear in this space, especially those who like to invest in cryptocurrency, Telegram is doing an ICO. So think about Telegram is having their own wallet and having their own token. So this will take the example that we said it might be only happen in China, then maybe worldwide. And if Telegram do it, will Facebook do it? We don't know.
Yeah, very, very great insight. So I would think we'll leave the question. If you have a further question, we can leave it after the event. And he's come to the end of the Q&A session. And many thanks to all of the participants, the panelists, to share the great insight. It's a very great, amazing evening to have the support from HKUST Business School and the FinTech Association to make this event happen. So since we have so many students here, I want to promote a little bit on FinTech Association. If you want to know more about FinTech Association, please check out hkfintech.org. Okay, so in drawing to an end, we would like to invite to present a special souvenir to each of our panelists today. So may I invite Professor Tai Yuan Chen, Associate Dean and MBA Program Director, HKUST Business School, to come forward and present the souvenir.
First, may I now invite Professor Casey Chen to receive a souvenir? Yeah, from Professor Chen. Thank you. And may I now invite Mr. Alex Kong? Yes. And now Mr. Samson Lee. Samson is our MBA alumnus. Yes, and Mr. Ted Lee. Ted is also our HKUST alumnus, major in computer sciences. Yes, and of course our beautiful and intelligent moderator for the very insightful discussions with our panel members. Thank you, Veronica. So may I now have a group photo of all the panel members? Yeah, group photo. Yeah, of course, with Professor Chen. Yeah, yes, here we are. Thank you very much, our panel speakers. And thank you, everyone in the room tonight. Thank you for your interest in this popular topic, and thank you for joining us tonight.